Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He is a pro wrestler, powerlifter, actor, also has a YouTube channel, Ted Arcidi. Pleased to welcome him to the show, Ted Arcidi. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
How you doing, everybody out there? You guys are what, Central Time?
Yes.
So where are you out of, like Indiana or somewhere?
We're out of Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Talk to me about your childhood. Where are you from?
Childhood. I was abandoned on a doorstep. No. I was raised Roman Catholic, 6 siblings. My mom was a nurse. My dad was an orthodontist. Went to parochial schools, you know, the whole gamut, because at the time public schools were starting to, deorientate away from, you know, family values and ethics and things like that. So they saw ahead and they put me in a good program with the parochial schools. And I played a lot of sports, but then I gravitated towards ice hockey and I became kind of really good at ice hockey. I wanted to be a pro hockey player. And they told me to put on weight because I was a defenseman and I had to kind of like maintain order in front of the net in the corners. And I was getting like the shit kicked out of me. I used to play at the ponds, street hockey every day. And when I had a vacation, which was a different vacation than the public school kids, I'd have the whole pond to myself. So I literally spent the whole day there practicing stick handling, shooting the puck and things like that. And then I started putting the weight on, you know, by lifting weights. And it became like an addiction. And I'm so happy I went that way. That was like divine intervention. And then I joined a gym and the rest is history. But yeah, good family, very lucky to have grown up in a big family because we had to, you know, we had to do our chores. We had responsibilities. And even though my family was pretty well off with my dad being an orthodontist in 2 different offices and 2 different towns, we had that good upbringing as far as a good work ethic. He was raised in Lawrence, Mass with his family, brothers and sisters, 1 sister and a bunch of brothers. And my grandfather, he owned a chicken store in Lawrence and they used to work at the chicken store, real hard work. They'd have to go up to, that was Lawrence, Massachusetts. They'd have to go up to New Hampshire every week on a Thursday, get the chickens from the farmers, and then bring it back to market, slaughter them, and put them in the store. And then he opened up another store in, I believe, Andover. So my grandfather, who only had like an 8th grade education, he really took in the American dream and he bettered his kids. I mean, he put all his kids through college. And that's when college was such a finite thing, just reserved for like the upper class. And I wish I met him. I never met him, but I think I got a lot of my tenacity and my dedication and my hard work from him, from that side. Also my mother's side too. My mother, she was raised in Erie, Pennsylvania, and she had a big family too. I got the sports, I think, from them because they played sports. And my uncle was a great football player. He played for Duke. And then he went to Iwo Jima and he was a lieutenant, got the Silver Star. And as you know about Iwo Jima, people out there, a lot of the guys died. We lost half his platoon and it was never the same. But nevertheless, he was my godfather and he helped raise me and very tight with him. Of course, he's passed. They're all passed. I just lost my dad 2 years ago. He was 93. But the guy practiced as an orthodontist till he was 85. And that's insane. That's great. So, I know it's an old adage and we beat the shit out of it, but you are who you grow up to be like from your upbringing, you know, and that pays a big effect on your relationship with people, engaging, work ethic, as I mentioned, and just life. So I think that motivated me not just for like ice hockey, but when I got into weightlifting, and then I became winning a lot of powerlifting events in the bench press, setting world records, and then getting into wrestling. I used that same practice ethic that I was drilled into by my parents.
Yeah,
And
I mean, definitely seems like you got that discipline at such an early age,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
really had to put out as much as you could. And as we're talking here, I mean, 700 plus pounds you had bench press. That is
how the guns, looking?
oh, they're great. They're great. I mean, that's very impressive.
Yeah,
And it was unheard of too at that time, right?
totally unheard of. And this is the thing today. You see a lot of things on YouTube and Facebook. These lifters, they say they're the new big bench press champion. Okay, you got this one guy, Julius Maddox, God bless him, but he weighs 450 pounds and he uses wrist wraps, which help you bench like 10%. When I did my lift, I didn't have any wrist wraps, any elbow wraps, and I only weighed like 286. And I got 666 for 3 different reps before it got passed. So, a lot of people are in my court saying, that's still the strongest pound for pound. And even when I did the 705, the bench shirt I had on, if you could call it a bench shirt, all these authors, and I know myself, it was more like a equivalent to like an Under Armour shirt. It just kept me warm. It wasn't like protracting my arms like this. I mean, what kind of a bench press? How can you say you got the strength when you're like literally you're forced to do this all the way up to the bench until you have like at least 600 pounds to bring it down to your chest? That's cheating. That ain't. People want to see the real fucking strength, Oh, is it okay if I swear?
Yeah, yeah, we'll
Okay.
bleep it out. But it's all power. I mean, you have to really want to do this. And being involved in sports at such an early age, it teaches you so much. Do you recall any lessons that you learned growing up from playing
Yeah.
sports that stuck with you over time?
Yeah. I mean, when I was putting on the weight for hockey, I was in the gym and this guy says, "Hey, look on the counter there. Look, there's this poster hanging up. It's like a little 8x10 sheet, a piece of paper." And it promoted a bench press meet. First of all, I didn't know what the hell a bench press meet was. And I had a good bench at the time. I mean, just my first 6 months, 3 months of lifting, I benched 300. Then I got up to 400 in 7 months. And the year after that, I was benching like, 450, 460. And I was still playing summer hockey in the leagues. I was killing people. And I was kind of psyched about hockey. But when I looked at this bench press meet, I said, yeah, let me give it a shot. Because it had weight classes. And I go, well, how do you do this? Okay, there's 3 attempts. And then they kick your best attempt and you can win. And this was the New England Championships. And I'm thinking, I got to give it a shot. So I went in there with my brother, 2 brothers, Joe and Philip. I'm sorry, Joe and Anthony. And it was all new to me. And I did the warm-up room and everything. And I went out for my first attempt. And I think I blasted 400 pounds up. Then I ended up getting a 440 for my best lift. And that was like second place in New England in my weight class. It was my first contest. And I was getting write-ups in the papers and stuff. And I'm thinking, screw hockey. This is even better.
Getting that recognition.
Yeah. And so it kind of was like addictive. And I realized that if I worked out harder, I can lift more, which makes sense. But I had to really dial into like, okay, what's going to make me get my bench better? And I did a lot of research. And the 3 major exercises that I found out that help you bench, you can't just bench and expect to become a good bench presser. Lat pull downs are really good. Behind the neck press, I did phenomenal in those. Standing behind the neck press, which is even harder. And I think there's a clip on my YouTube station of me doing an exhibition of 335 for reps, 3 reps. The best I did was like a world record standing 375 for 5. That's documented. That was in Muscle and Fitness years ago. I did that. And then on top of that, tricep nose breakers. I don't know, Stan, you familiar with those? You bring them down to your nose and you extend them. I get up to 375 doing those. So coupled those 3 exercises combined, it was like a symphony. And it not only did it increase my back and my shoulder strength, but my explosion when I go off the bench. And that's what did it, man. That was the ticket. And I would eat, drink, and sleep lifting. I mean, I'd be in bed by 10. I didn't go out and party and stuff. Maybe one night I would, but I wouldn't be crazy about it because I really, really wanted this. I was like Arnold, going for the Olympia. But in my own way, this was going to be the, all new frontier. It was like the next great frontier in my life. How much can I bench? I want to be able to get a world record. And then I won the collegiates. And then I got invited to the Hawaii International Powerlifting Championships in Hawaii in 1983. And that was a 275-pound class. I smoked up like 630 or 621 or something, 628. And then I got invited again in 1984, and that's when I did the 666. I got red lighted the first 2 attempts, not because I didn't get it. I just went up uneven. And then the 3rd attempt, they granted me the 3 international judges. They granted me a 3rd attempt, and I smoked it, and the place went shithouse. And that's when I knew. And I just got into dental school too. That's another chapter you probably heard about. And I was kind of like torn. What am I going to do? My dad wanted me to be a dentist. I wanted to be a dentist. I graduated with a phys ed degree, but you weren't at that particular time. You weren't going to get a job in the teaching business if you were a doctor's son because it's so political in these towns, So anyway, yeah, I got into dental school. And I just didn't last in there because I wanted to be the first man to bench 700 pounds. My father was pissed. We didn't talk for a while, and then I got the record. I lived on my own and taught school as a substitute teacher and part-time teacher, and I liked doing that. But it kept me afloat. I lived in this professor's house in Newton, Mass. He was a professor at BU. Neil Todd, good guy. He's passed now. But he set me up in what was a converted porch, but he sealed it off. And he made it my room. There was no heat or anything. I took my showers at the gym. But there was a gas stove down below in the basement. I'd go down through the bulkhead. That used to be the bulkhead. And it was kind of like a Spartan life because I couldn't go back home. That's when I really just focused. I said, fuck this. I gotta do this. Because I was thinking I can go back to dental school. Let me get the 700 out of my angst, so
out of your system.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a dream, and that was the important thing is you had something you wanted to pursue. You love weightlifting. You love powerlifting. You went and set that record. I mean, I'm sure your parents had to have been happy for you when you set that record.
They were. My mother was more, and my siblings were. I still talk to them and my mom, but my dad, he was like, okay, you had your fun. I'll go back to dental school. But then he found out in the Boston Globe, it's like the biggest paper. This is before the internet. It's like the New York Times. Mm-hmm. They did a big story on me breaking the record and how I got invited to Vince McMahon's office, and I signed a contract with Vince McMahon and the WWF to be the new world's strongest man. Actually, the first world's strongest man. Ken Patera never had that moniker. And then he read that in the Globe. And I'll tell you, Stan, I wish I still had the recording, but I had one of those 1980s answer machines, with the beeps. Mm-hmm. And it was like the 3rd beep. And at the time, I started my vitamin company, my supplement company. I did my own labeled private supplements, amino acids, protein powder. I was making money doing that too, which was great, along with the teaching. So I'm thinking, okay, it's another order, another catalog or something. And it's my father. And these are his exact words. Ted, I just saw the article in the Globe. If you even harbor a thought of joining that circus, I'm changing the locks. Click. Stan, I wish I saved that message. I had it for like 20 years. I can't find the damn thing. But then he found out about that. And so he was kind of pissed, and we didn't talk. We didn't talk for like a year anyway. Even after that, until he saw me on TV. But I mean, I could see his point. He's the son of an immigrant, okay, and that's the immigrant culture back then. How's my son? I could hear him thinking out loud. How's my son going to make a living being a weightlifter, a champion, even though? And how's he going to make a living becoming a wrestler? Because that was considered in his generation really low brow, you know? So he saw the momentum that McMahon brought with Hogan. And I just said, listen, I want to do this because this is like once in a lifetime. I mean, I got the record. He wants me. He's going to train me at their school down there. They want to get me out because Ken Patera was in jail at the time, and they needed a strong man to take his place. And I'll tell you, with everything hitting, how could you not want to get into that? Because it was just like instant celebrity, great money, especially if you learn the tactics, you learn the wrestling and stuff. So I went to, they put me through Tony Altamori School down in Connecticut, in Orange, Connecticut. And I'd stay down there for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days at a time and go back to Newton back and forth, you know, until I was ready for TV. I wish I stayed there a little longer, but Vince wanted me right away. So I was at camp maybe 5 months. I mean, usually I should have been at camp. Most people go to camp for like, I don't know, 7, 8 months, you know. So anyway, it worked out good though, because they put me in a lot of squash matches, easy matches, and I just get better as we did it. But
was wrestling something you had watched as a kid before?
I only started watching it like the first WrestleMania was Snooker and Hogan, because it was so well known then. It was so mainstream, as you could say. I mean, you put on the channel every weekend. You had that, and then you had World Class Wrestling, the Von Erichs right after that. So this was all like new. Everyone in the gym watched it. It was, I mean, your dad must have seen it all the time because it took over. It was like the major thing on, and this is before everything got too diluted with all the stations on the internet and things like that. It was on cable. It was on regular TV. You know, you can get it free TV, and people just congregated around it, and they loved it because they loved the old school, you know, the psychology, you know, the good versus bad. I think today it's a little diluted, it's a little convoluted. And plus back then we were big. We looked like, you know, we were wrestlers, you know. Today there's a lot of technicians and high flyers, but you wouldn't recognize them in the airport. You know, when we walked by, we got mobbed, you know, everywhere we went. It was insane. So you felt like a rock star. But even then I had that, you know, frame of mind. I'm going to work my ass off at this and learn the moves and learn to sell and learn the rap. And it worked out good. Vince took me, gave me opportunity, and then he gave me some great things. I mean, he got me in WrestleMania 2. He got me a wrestling doll. This is all in 1 year in the WWF. WrestleMania 2, he got me the doll. Main event with John Studd at the Boston Garden, my friggin' turf. We sold it out. That was a great match. That's on the Ted Arcidi YouTube too. And yeah, he put me over. And I got to say this, I'm jumping ahead a little too, but when I went down to the World Class Federation with Fritz Von Erich, I had to do a couple dark matches as a heel because I wanted to be a heel. And I trained to be a heel at Stampede Wrestling. And he wanted to see what I could do. And I loved being a heel. And after he saw the dark match, I think it was with Cousin Junior or somebody, and we worked up a good match. It was give and take, and then I just killed him. I had some great power moves just with a flying clothesline, going off the ropes, double axe handle, you know, right in the back of somebody. And people believed it because, you know, I mean, shit, how often do you go to an arena to watch a wrestler who really bench press fucking 700 pounds? And I remember Vince telling me that too. We want you because no one's going to believe what you did. And then they see you throwing meat around. And that's what they love. And I asked him, I go, you really want to put me with Stud as a main event right away? He goes, absolutely. Work a good match with Stud. And he says, Teddy, I still remember him saying that. He says, there's technical wrestlers, there's high flyers, but this is me talking, and I don't care what people say. Two big muscle guys, especially when they take it out of the ring and they're killing each other with slow, deliberate moves. People come on that. They love that shit.
It
And that's
draws.
what we did. And you can see
It
that
draws.
on the Ted Arcidi YouTube. It was a great match. And yeah, I had some great matches down in Texas too with Matt Bourne and Bruiser Brody. But I
Mhm.
think as a heel, I had a real good rap too. I like being a heel than a face. But Vince wanted me to start as a face because I was over big time with my world record in the Northeast because everybody knew about my plight going for the world record at the World Championships. And when I got that, that was news all over the East Coast. So it caught his attention to give me an interview, and that worked out well. So I guess you have to start as a face if you want to be a good heel, and that's just part and parcel for the business, you know.
What is it about being a heel to you that just made you go, man, this is so cool?
Oh, you run the match. You run the match and you get people to fucking hate you. And you get people to think that, wow, he's going to kill this guy. And then somehow the other guy outsmarts me. And then he's doing a bunch of series of blows and a drop kick. And I get out of the ring and the place goes shit house. That's good. And then you come back and you go back and forth. And then you do your power moves and you just get over more. But it's like painting a picture. You have to start out, do your test of strength, throw him around, but then you let him and the crowd think he's outsmarting you, and then you just come back. You just come back with like a move out of the blue. Like he misses a clothesline, you turn around, he turns around, and you just nail him with your 26. And yeah, I had really 26-inch arms back then, and you just hear the crowd gasping. Oh my God, is that fucker dead? So you know that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. That's like theater.
Yeah, I mean, it is acting. It's a part. It's a part of it. I mean, you're
Oh
out
yeah,
there telling a story with
yeah.
your opponent of why this is going on. What is the conflict here? Did you find training for wrestling to be harder than weightlifting?
No, no. I think it was more time consuming because you had to learn the psychology. There was more psychology involved, and you just had to keep doing it, doing it, and doing it. And I remember back when I was at wrestling camp, we did shows every week, maybe 2 shows a week. And that's when you were doing area high school shows with mid card people in the WWE and former WWE in front of 3 to 5,000 people. That's how hot wrestling was, even in the gyms and stuff. And so that was pretty cool. That was a trip in its own, because people are thinking, wow, that guy, I know he's going to go somewhere. That's that Ted Arcidi. That's the guy that just set the record. And I was like a Russian or something then, or I was something. I was just a steamroller. But yeah, you work it. You work it, you work it, you work it, you work it, and you just get better at it. You can't not get better at it. It's a mathematical certainty. Just like
Yeah.
acting, you have to just know your parts, know your lines, know your lines. And then when you get on camera, then you can spit out anything you want as long as you stay with the dialogue. And they like that because you don't want to go by the book. They want to see you, whether it's in the ring or if you're on film, they want to see the real you persona come out. And it just takes practice. But I still say, if you put the time into it, you can do it. But luckily I had the size too, so that carried a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you were in WWE for 2 years and then you went to world
About a year,
class.
yeah. And
About
then
a
I went
year,
to
went to world class, and you got to
yeah,
work with Percy Pringle during your
yeah,
time at world class.
yeah,
Paul Bearer, what was it like working with him?
yeah. It was great. I mean, as you know, he had a lot of people in his stable. He had Rick Rude, Cactus Jack. He had Tony Atlas, I think, and so he had a great rap. He had Bruiser Brody in there too for a while. So I was under good management, but that was all because of Fritz. Fritz saw me in that dark match and he says, Arcidi, we're going to give you a shot. You did really well. And we're going to give you a manager. We're going to give you the strap. I ended up getting the Texas belt. And I liked it too because I could have the rap too on the promos. I had a good rap. Better than I think most other heels too.
Yeah, I mean, having that size, being able to wrestle at a pace that you're as you're talking, you're in control of the match and trying to get the guys over, trying to carry them to the next level, really um, set the bar high for some success there. I mean, you had an incredible run in WWF and in the world class. Um, what made you decide to stop and retire?
Yeah, that's a good question. Patera had just gotten out of the can, and I was up in Calgary doing a stint up there. That's when I turned heel, actually, up there, because Vince wanted me to try to work an angle with Bill Kazmaier, who got into wrestling, but it just didn't work with Bill. I like Bill, but he just didn't sell, and he couldn't move that well, couldn't really throw a punch, and it just seemed so fake. And then I decided I was waiting, to get a call because Patera came back, and we would have been a great tag team because I would have been a heel then. But Vince, he says, no, not yet. I said, well, I'm going down to world class. I'm going to work down there. He goes, okay, and we'll get back to you. Just keep working your thing. And I did that, and I stayed with world class for a good year. And but Vince never got back to me because I don't know. They used Patera in a different. They turned Patera face or something, and they were still going to call me back, but I didn't want to wait it out. So I actually I left the business, and that's when I had my vitamin supplement company. Remember, I had that going back in '84.
Mhm.
Well, at that time, that was growing like it burgeoned astronomically. I was in GNCs, health food stores. We go overseas to these FIBOs, these natural food festivals, things like that, where they had sports nutrition. And because of my notoriety and all the exposure I had on TV, it was like an instant hit. So I was in a lot of stores, and I had my own supplement company, weight gainers, amino acids, glandulars, growth factors, all natural stuff. Um, and it was just I was utilizing the exposure I had with Vince McMahon because everyone knew who I was, and they knew that I had some smarts because I had a biology degree equivalent because I took all the sciences to get into med school, dental school, and I formulated my own supplements. So that was the byline, that was the story. And I even wrote articles for Joe Weider, who was a great guy who took me in, and I helped his magazine, but he helped my vitamin company too because I'd write supplement recommendations and lifting recommendations, different types of exercises I would promote, and just my lifting was still going strong. And another thing I used to do for the vitamin companies like GNCs and health food stores and gymnasiums to get into their line of stores, I said, listen, I'll do something better than these other friggin' pencil pushers that don't even have their own person that created the supplement line. I did. So I know these things. They work. I tried them. I use them for recuperation. I'm getting positive nitrogen balance. I'll do exhibitions. And they said, absolutely, that would be great. And we go to like a GNC in, let's say, Maryland at Haversville Mall or somewhere. And they would set up a behind the neck press exhibition because that was the most impressive thing to do. Benching is great, but behind the neck press, standing behind the neck press, not jerking, pushing over 315 pounds over your head for reps, that stops friggin' traffic. So we would go there, and the whole mall, just because of my name, not trying to blow smoke up my ass, but because I was doing a real exhibition, real weights, not a how-to like doing curls. And the place, it was mobbed. And then my supplements, I talk about them and they'd be selling out. So it really worked out well. And I kind of never get back to wrestling because I ended up getting a family and I wanted to settle with the family. And yeah, I ended up settling up in Manchester, New Hampshire, where I am now. My dad and I bought this building in '99. And yeah, I never looked back. It's been great. In '97, that's when I decided to get into acting.
Okay. Now, what made you decide to want to be an actor? I mean, you had the experience with pro wrestling. What made you decide to want to pursue that as a career?
Good question. I still wanted to stay in the entertainment business. I always loved acting, good acting. And I looked at this thing, I stepped back a few paces and I said, yeah, I just don't want to be any actor. I don't want to be like these actors in the WWE, most of them, not all of them. There's a couple of them that are good, but most of them would just be thugs. I don't want to be like a big guy thug. That's not acting. That's like, there's no challenge to that. I said, I want to get into like really scene study, things like that. So it didn't happen right away. I realized what I have to do. And I started attending scene studies with casting directors, workshops with casting directors, with different types of directors, okay, in Boston and the New York market. So I would literally go to Boston over a weekend and hit like all these different classes for scene study and workshops and stuff. Same thing in New York. I'd go down there. And I did that literally every week because I had my business here and I could get away because someone could run the store and stuff and with my supplements. But I had the flexibility. I could just fly down to New York or drive into Boston. And those are two major markets. And with that, I started working with getting a reel together, what they call an actor's reel. And I would get non-union commercials, a lot of student films, but student films, you don't get money. And even low budget films, you don't get money. And I didn't give a shit about the money because I already had money. I just wanted to do the work. I wanted to get the work in there. So I ended up getting real good scenes and you put them on the reel. And some of these movies, I mean, a couple of them, they made it right to Sundance, you know, and South by Southwest. So that was really good exposure. So I put all this together and then I put it in a actor's reel and I sent it to, I had the mailing list of like, I don't know, there's got to be like 200 agents for film and TV and commercials. I ended up getting an acting, film and TV agent and a commercial agent. So that worked out well. And then I just started hitting things. And my first broadcast on national TV was Law and Order back in 1998, you know. And then I did I had done, CVS commercial. I did that around here before I went down to New York. So I had some cred. You had to get some cred. And then once I was in New York, I started getting calling. But it wouldn't have been if I didn't do the work. I mean, for like, you know, several years, even when I was working down there, I was hitting these things every weekend because there's that work ethic again from my parents. Work your ass off because there's someone else there that's working out even harder than you, and you got to do that. And I loved it because I knew it would make me a better actor, studying the scenes, memorizing the scenes, trying it different ways. So when you go to these auditions, and I used to do this, I tell a lot of people, I'd go to NYU or Emerson College or Boston University that had great communications program, great acting program. And the student films, because they would audition. You want to audition for them in the spring because it was part of their senior thesis or their master's thesis. And I said, you know something? I'm not too concerned about the dialogue or the way of the storyline or the screenplay. I just want to go in front of these bastards and audition and get so used to it. So I'd go in there. I didn't even know what it was, but I'd audition. I'd look at the part and I'd just throw it at them different ways. And they love me. But that's the whole idea. You got to get in front of these bastards and give it right back at them like you don't care. And that's how I still feel today. Because I know someone's going to pick me for something. So I don't care. I'll go in there. I'll run it different ways. And the fact that you're repeating it, you're doing repetitions, you're doing an audition here, an audition there, and audition, and then all of a sudden something hits. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, you're getting that experience.
Yeah. And then speaking of that, I just, well, let me see. Stan, we had COVID, right? Mm-hmm. That was for like 4 years. Then we had the actor strike. And then a lot of people don't know, but I had to get both my knees replaced at the same time. That sucked because I was like a cripple for 2.5 years before I had that done. I could barely walk. I had that done. And I just started auditioning in December, this past December. And I'm starting to hit stuff. I just got on this new HBO show called The Chair Company.
Now, outside of wrestling and acting and weightlifting, you've also done a lot of charity work. Worked with
Yeah,
various organizations. Let's talk about that. Talk to me
sure.
about some of the stuff you've done as far as helping out in your community is concerned.
I think it's important giving back. I just ran I do a lot of signings now that people know I'm back in the game and stuff, because they couldn't get a hold of me, after COVID and the actor strike. They didn't know where I was. But since I did one podcast, as you know, it kind of like burgeons and it just snowballs. I'm almost doing one a week now. But when I do the signings, especially I did a signing here. I just did a signing in New Jersey and New York about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I did a signing here a week ago, and I raffled off two of my wrestling dolls still in the package. They're like $2,000 value because they're hard to find. But I did it for free just because I want to give back to the community. So we had a real good turnout for that. And I feel good. I just, we were paid a lot of money, and to wrestle, and the merchandise, the dolls, the shirts, the TV shirts, the posters, everything else. And I just want to give back. And I'm also, as you mentioned, I'm doing a fishing derby. I'm holding a trout fishing derby at my farm in Milford, New Hampshire. It's a stock pond in the farm. I got about 3,000 trout, and I'm gonna no registration fee, so that's free. Free food, free drink, and cash prizes for tagged trout. That's a trout. There's three of them that are tagged. If you catch one of those trout, or a couple of them, if they got the tags on, you get $200 a trout. And then the largest trout will give you like $200 or $300 too. So I think the fact that it's free, I'm promoting it, I'm giving back to the community. I like doing that. And I've done a lot with churches around here too, even while I was not acting and stuff. My business, my Weightlifter's Warehouse, my store were doing very well. The building were doing very well. And so I feel a need to give to the churches for their construction projects and things like that. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. And I think it goes a long way.
Was there a particular moment where you were helping someone that was very heartwarming?
All the time, all the time. Whether it's someone in the store, grocery store, they're trying to dig for change and stuff, and I just tell the cashier, "Hey, I'll take care of that. Don't worry." That makes me feel good. Or you know, the churches, when they're trying to get something done, like for instance a sidewalk, they got to get it fixed because parishioners will get hurt. And I try to say I do it anonymously, and they like that, and that really, and then they find out it's me, and they come up to me and they say thanks. So I think it's the right thing to do. But I think the most personal ones are the ones that I help out in stores. They have no idea who I am. I just tell them, I won megabucks, which I really did, because I'm just so grateful for the opportunities and the rewards I'm getting now. So how can you not want to give? I kind of hear my mother saying that too. So I make a point to doing that, helping the homeless, even though a lot of people say, well, you're just going to give to the drinking or that. I say, yeah, but what if this guy's just out there? What if he's just really trying to get a jacket, or if he's just trying to get a meal or something for the night? You don't know. And, $20 isn't going to break you. So I try to make a point to do that. And I know sometimes it might go to waste and stuff, but the thought's there, and there's a chance that it's not going. So yeah, they all have a personal effect on me. And I like that, because it's it's the Holy Spirit looking down on you. Jesus is happy what you're doing, and he's showing you love. And then I think he shows it in the pay forward with opportunities I get, like with the acting and everything. So yeah, and I'm not doing it just because I want to, I'm not making a deal with God saying, listen, I'll do this, but make me this and that. You still got to work for it. But I like to do my part. If you're offered money, if you're given a lot of money and I'm making money, and you have an opportunity, I think as a human being, uh, how can it not feel right not to give? You have to. You have to. And even when I wasn't making money, I still gave something to some people. You can tell when people are struggling, things like that, you know. But then getting back in another notion, Vince McMahon, especially that federation, we became overnight sensations. I mean, all of a sudden, I'm making $100,000 a year, you know, from a teacher's salary and a dropout out of dental school. And I invested that money and the money that I made with the vitamin company and stuff like that. I invested that money into my weightlifting store in the building I bought with my dad. But I don't like when people get this premonition or they get this notion, okay, they made more money than me, some of these top 10 wrestlers. And they're down and out. They didn't think it was ever going to end. They put it up their nose or they just blew it on partying and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden they don't have any money. And so the earliest initial reaction is, and I hate this, it bugs me. They try to take Vince McMahon to court or something because he was around when they took drugs. And I go, stop right there. Vince is not your mother. He's not a therapist. He's not a kindergarten teacher. You guys were adults. You did what you did up your nose and behind the scenes and steroids and everything else. You knew the dangers. Don't blame Vince. And I hammer this point home, Stan. I tell these people, even at the signings, the other wrestlers, when they got a bitch with McMahon or they had a bitch with Von Erich, the old man, Fritz, I say, don't take it out on them. I go, if you didn't get picked by Vince, you'd still be just a fucking gym rat, okay? And that's it. And they just shut up. So a lot of it's common sense. But I will, if I see Vince, I will always say, Vince, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm indebted to you because it was great that you promoted my strength, my wrestling, and that parlayed into the acting and everything else. And if it wasn't for that jump start with you with all that exposure, I'd probably be a dentist. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's just not me. My whole family's into medical or attorneys. My sister is married to a dentist, Joanne. She and my other sister, Camille and Christine, they're dental hygienists. They make good money. They made really good money. And Camille became an orthodontist. And then my brother became a lawyer, an attorney. And my older brother, Joe, he became a head heart surgeon out in California, in Northern California. Yeah, in, Fresno, somewhere out there.
Well, before we wrap things up here, what is it about giving back to you that gives you the most joy?
I want to go to heaven. I mean that, but you've heard that adage, you feel better giving
yes.
than receiving. It's the truth. It really is.
It is.
It really is. And I'm sure it sounds like from your persona, I got the feeling that you're a good guy. You give whenever you can too. But I think it makes you sleep better at night and you're doing God's work, the God's work, and you're following him. And I think he's smiling on you because when you feel good and good things happen to you, I think that's reflection from God, not to be a holy roller, and I remember doing this even when I was wrestling. I would still try to give what I could and stuff like that. Because you never know the weirdest things. People come up to you and you help them out some more, even if it's just a conversation. That's big. Especially, they come up and they say, yeah, I saw you and this and that. And you don't just brush them off. Oh, thanks a lot. If you got the time, talk to them. And that's really big. That makes their day. And I think that's given too.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he gives us opportunities and it's up to us to take them. And that's what I want to do. I love doing that. So,
Ted, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. I want to say thank you for coming on to Wrestling with Heart. It means a lot to me
thanks,
and to my
Stan, for
listeners and
inviting me.
viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you? If you have anything,
I guess
like any
go
social
to
media or.
go to Ted Arcidi YouTube, and then from there you can see my Wikipedia page and what I'm doing on TV, because that's usually going to be on Wikipedia too. But IMDb, that's a page too. It's like a motion picture page. It tells you it's got my some of my clips from my acting, my best acting that I did with The Fighter, The Family, Equalizer 2 with Denzel. That's on there too. And then that's going to be updated too, because as we do more gigs, so to speak, we're just going to keep filling it up.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Ted, and you're more than welcome to come back.
I hope to come back again too. Stay in touch, Stan.
Absolutely. Take care.
Everybody out there, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks again.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.